down. Got a city officer down. Shots fired. Shots fired. Unknown where the subject shooting from.
3 police officers in Baton Rouge, Louisiana have been killed, 3 others wounded. 1 is still in critical condition. We do not know the motivation of the shooter right now, but as many have pointed out, including the president, that regardless of the motive, that there is a danger to police officers in this country right now. They confront that danger every day, and President Obama reiterating that nothing justifies violence against law enforcement. There have been so many twists and turns in the day today. We initially had thought that there were 2 additional suspects. At this point, we believe, according to the Louisiana law enforcement agencies there, that the dead suspect is the only suspect. His name, Gavin Eugene Long, born today in 1987. It would have been his 29th birthday today. The Baton Rouge Police Department chief saying in a press conference earlier that this was a senseless act and that other agencies are now coming in to help his very stressed out and taxed office.
And now police have identified that killer as 29-year-old Gavin Long. Fox News Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge has been working her sources. She goes on the record from Washington, D.C. Catherine?
Well, thanks, Brenda. Earlier today, I spoke with a U.S. government official who was getting information in real time as events unfolded. And he told me that the initial piece of intelligence that the cops were working with is that they had a guy with an AK-style weapon with a bulletproof vest, and he was either on foot or in a vehicle. And based on what we heard on the news conference this afternoon, that lays out a couple of different scenarios, that he shot some of the cops, and then as they arrived on scene, he continued the shooting, or he was in a vehicle at one point and he was able to spray the cops, which I think helps explain the high number of casualties and injuries, Greta.
We always hear whether someone is known to the police or not, known to law enforcement or not. Was this killer known to law enforcement?
Well, what we know tonight is that police are descending on his home in Kansas City, Missouri, and they are doing so with their weapons drawn. And earlier today, our affiliate there in Kansas City went to that last known address for Gavin Long and said that when they approached the house, that the guy who answered brandished a weapon in an effort to get them to leave the property. There are reports this evening that he was a member of anti-government groups. We have not independently confirmed that, and certainly we have heard nothing from our contacts or at that news conference earlier this afternoon that he was known to police and considered a threat, Greta.
Early on in the reporting, it said that there was a manhunt for 2 others. What happened to that?
That's correct. Based on the news conference, that may just have been the kind of reporting that we saw in Dallas because of the quickness and the complexity of the crime scene and the way in which the shots were fired and what eyewitnesses heard. They did not indicate, once they had the news conference, that there were other shooters. But what has my attention, I'm sure it has your attention too, given your experience, is that they didn't rule out that they were talking to 2 people who had in some way assisted in this conspiracy.
Newsroom. Police in Titusville, Florida say 2 people are dead after a shooting inside a hospital. This happened early this morning at the Parish Medical Center. Police say an elderly patient and a hospital worker were killed in the shooting. They do have a suspect in custody, the motive at this time unknown. We're going to bring you more information as soon as it becomes.
America currently finds itself sealed off from its nuclear warheads located right now at Turkey's Incirlik Air Base. That's after Ankara blocked all movement in and out of the facility, halting U.S.-led airstrikes on Syria from this strategic base. Power to the base has also been cut. It's now understood that, however, the incident has sparked deep concerns in Washington. To what extent do you think could the instability in Turkey actually compromise its role in NATO and, I suppose, its image as a reliable partner?
Well, I'm afraid that I guess that there will be no major changes between the NATO and Turkey, because the NATO geopolitical interests are once more heavy than any human rights issue or instability in Turkey. The NATO and especially the USA need Turkey for its role for the regime change policies in the Middle East.
Saying that they initially had no idea that they were taking part in a plan to overthrow the government. They say they were told at the start that they were doing a military drill.
Scientists are growing more concerned about an enormous bloom of algae that has taken over Florida's Lake Okeechobee. The bloom is so large that it can be seen from space. The persistent problem is scaring residents and has even forced many to close up businesses. The toxic algae has affected numerous counties in the area. NASA's images show the expanse of the toxic blue-green algae, which began to appear in May and proceeded to span 33 square miles. Blooms like this occur for various reasons, mainly pollution, fertilizer runoff, and warming lake temperatures, which can fuel the algal growth. The overgrowth is extremely hazardous. The dense blooms reduce oxygen in the water, which slowly chokes fish, and the cutoff in sunlight kills vegetation. These types of blooms are not only a problem in Florida, but appear in approximately 20 other states. And as in the case of Ohio and Lake Erie, blooms can cause a severe shortage of drinking water. The situation has become so toxic in Florida, Governor Rick Scott declared a state of emergency in 4 counties.
At this time, we will have an invocation by David Suhor. This will be followed by a Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice President Brian Spencer. We can.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come,